It's so weird that you mentioned Arthur Mafokati because he spoke yesterday at the 100 Men March and people were outraged. But also you spoke about how it is intersectional, and this march is considered an intersectional. What does intersectional mean?
Intersectional talks about our daily lived experiences, right? Because as a trans woman, I experience a couple of oppressions, right? Not just one type. I don't just experience trans misogyny. I also experience racism. I also experience classism. So these are violences that we experience intersectionally. And so solutions need to be intersectional, right? In order to make sure that we're not oppressed as an entire human race. And that march was not intersectional. It was intersectoral, but it was not intersectional. They were excluding a large number of people from that march. It was mostly focused on cis women and children, nothing about trans people. And so I think that's why it was necessary to disrupt.
Well, speaking of exclusion, why is it only women that are taking part in tomorrow's march? Not tomorrow's march, the march on the 1st, yes.
It's not just women. We also want gender-conforming people to be on the ground. And a lot of what we discussed was we don't want men in this space. And then obviously the uncomfortable conversation came in about what about trans men? Because they experience abuse under cis men as well. And it's intersectional, so why aren't we including them? And I think we decided that it's best if we have it as a women's march and a gender-conforming people's march because even though trans men don't have the same power that cis men have, a lot of trans men take on that role of toxic masculinity and actually can be abusive, and most in cases are abusive to their partners who are either trans or queer women.
Oh, okay. Now, do you subscribe to the notion #MEnAreTrash?
I definitely do.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Men Are Trash started as just something that was meant to call men out, to get men to actually have the conversations about why are people saying we're trash? But instead, men have been trying to defend themselves. Yes. They're out there saying, no, but I'm not trash.
Or what did they say? Not all of us.
Not all men, right? Yeah. And there's a big thing where people are saying, no, but some men are good men in the society. They are very nice people. And it's the very good men in society who abuse and rape, right? Our abusers and rapists aren't some monsters we can see from a mile away. These are the nice guy next door who helps you with your car. These are the colleague at work who always says good morning to you in the nicest way and then one day decides to grope you. You know, it's all these different things that people don't take in consideration as to why men are actually trash, and that's why they get all defensive.
And now, in the UK, they are trying to get misogyny as a sort of hate crime. Do you support that notion, or are we taking it too far and are we becoming too sensitive and crying wolf once too many times?
I think that's a great idea because remember, racism itself took a long time for it to be criminalized and seen as a crime. And it's about time that we actually do the same with misogyny because these are two systems that operate the same if you think about it. It's all about privilege and hierarchy. And so to not punish misogyny in any way is to say we don't care about women, trans women, and gender-conforming people because I think it affects all of us.
It does. Now, if gay men want to support, what platforms are there that are available? Gay men and trans men.
Gay and trans men can definitely be in support of this movement by wearing the same colors that we're going to be wearing on the day of the march, observing the moment of silence with us on the day of the march. And also for gay men who may hold powerful positions in companies, it would be great if they can give women paid leave on the day. And also it would be great if they can stand up for their colleagues if there are women or trans women that need to be at the march and aren't being really released from work. But we are trying to make provisions that all women can be released from work. But again, it's difficult with private sector. But yeah, it's something that we are really hoping that a lot of men can come on and support without feeling some type of way for not being invited, right? Because I think the biggest thing is a lot of men are saying, but I want to be there. And I think the reason why we don't want men there, it's a conversation on consent, right? It's can you respect our no? Because clearly in society, you're not respecting our no. So in this march, we're asking you to just respect that no in our space. So hopefully, yeah, that's how gay men and trans men can definitely support.
Awesome. You spoke about colors that will be worn on the day and moments of silence. Please just walk us through the logistics. What colors are we expected or requested to wear, and when will the moment of silence be? And should we be burning tires and looting, or what will the protocol be on the day?
Okay, let's not burn tires and let's not loot. But the colors are black and a touch of red. And the reason why those colors are important is black for mourning, all the deaths, and red as the blood of these women that have been killed and murdered. And on the day, we're having a moment of silence when the march starts. I'm not entirely clear on the times that the march will start because a lot of the different provinces are still having a bit of pending issues with that. But we definitely have information on our website, which is, can I share it?
Yes, please. Absolutely.
www.thetotalshutdown.org.za.
Say that again, please.
www.thetotalshutdown.org.za.
Awesome. I hope our listeners got that. Now, why have you received resistance for including gender non-conforming women in the march?
We have gotten a lot of resistance because I think even within the circle of cis women, trans women, gender conforming people, there's a lot of, again, hierarchical prejudice, right? Cis women don't really understand gender conforming people, and a lot of cis women feel they need to protect cis womanhood by not allowing trans women in those spaces or gender conforming people in those spaces. So we're saying, stop, you're being the very oppressors we're fighting now. Let's not be those oppressors. Let's take on a different system, which is why, again, intersectionality is important. It's to understand that as much as men abuse all of us, cis women, you also abuse trans people and gender conforming people. We need to be all accountable of our privileges and our place in the hierarchy.
And have they tried to stop have they tried to have them excluded from the march? And have there actually been action emails or requests?
We like one of the biggest things is that we've been pushing for is communication between the trans organizations and LGBTQ organizations and us. So we've really sent emails out to try and get them more involved. And there hasn't been resistance, I must say, in the groups in terms of if a trans person joins. So I'm not going to say that they're anti it, but they just don't have the language because right in society, cis people have the privilege not to research because it doesn't affect them in a way, right? But we are expecting better of society and people to research and understand how to be an ally, how to be an active ally to the trans and gender conforming community.
Awesome. Is this exclusively a South African problem? And if not, what support have you received from neighboring and other countries in general?
This is a problem that stretches throughout the world. But the other countries that have supported us is Botswana and Lesotho. And how they're supporting us is they're doing their own march on the same day. And I think that's very powerful because, again, it shows that as women, we can work together. Instead of this notion that women can't work together, they're always fighting and arguing, they're being, all those
women hate women.
Right. This proves that that's not true. The only reason why we're seen as we can't work together is because the patriarchy dictates that we don't. But we're fighting that very same patriarchy. So we've gotten that support from neighboring countries that they're in solidarity with us. They're definitely taking on the march as well on the 1st of August. But I'm not too entirely sure about their logistics, though.
Yes, and if their governments are supporting them to the extent that ours is.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what would you say to, because we have a lot of cis women who listen to the radio station, and some people find it almost as an affront when a transgender woman introduces herself and just says, I'm a woman, which I do. I usually omit the trans part unless I'm being in a sort of activism space and I need it declared.
Right.
But what would you say to that woman who'll be listening to this interview and who finds it almost offensive that we introduce ourselves as that?
Well, the first thing I want to say is don't be territorial about womanhood. It doesn't belong to any sole entity. There are different kinds of womanhood. Even cis women experience womanhood differently. It's not some uniform that cis women experience the same way, right? So don't be territorial about womanhood. It's not going to run out. It's not a resource that's going to eventually run out and you're going to lose yours. It's just respecting the other person, acknowledging.
It's not like land.
Right. I mean, I would like to go into the full conversation as to how gender is actually just a social construct and it's not real. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's just about respecting another person and understanding that if they tell you they're a woman, they're a woman. Don't argue.
It should be enough, right?
Really?
It should be enough. Lastly, Ntsiki, where can women go if they're interested in joining the march? Because this is why we're doing this interview. We will play it before, we will play it during, we will play it after to remind people that it happened. But more importantly, those who'll be listening and who want to take part and who want to bring this to the attention of their employers, perhaps, where can they go and what actions can they take? Do we register on a website or do we just rock up in the appropriate colors? Where can we go?
Okay, well, for information's sakes, it's the website I shared earlier. They can definitely go on that website. It's got a lot of information. There's also a Facebook group, The Total Shutdown, for women and gender-conforming people to join, which will have information as to where the different regions are, and they have links to WhatsApp groups to those different regions. So if you are in Pretoria and you want to join the Pretoria group, go onto our Facebook group, find your link, and you'll be in the Pretoria WhatsApp group, and you'll have a conversation there about where can you meet, and they'll definitely give you more details there. But yeah, you can also just rock up at the different meeting points. But that information again is on the website. So yeah.
Your last words to men.
Men, we don't need you to save us. We just need you to be better. We need you to you need to do the work to fix society. We've been trying to do the work, but you guys are just standing there watching us die. So we need men to actually take up the mantle and do the work to fix themselves.
Awesome. GaySA Radio, where you are family. Do keep streaming, and thank you for making our radio station your radio station of choice.